this shareholder capitalism and stakeholder capitalism. Let's take them one by one. Let's try to be real clear, and let's talk about the differences, because I think to understand the concept, we need to understand the definitions of these
Sure.
words.
Let's start with what we're dealing with today, particularly in our publicly traded companies. That's called shareholder capitalism. And it's based on the belief that the fiduciary duties of the officers and directors of the company is to maximize the return to the shareholders. When you sit in the boardrooms and you listen to those discussions, and I was a part of them for so many years, those discussions weren't about what's the best thing to do, right? How do we all win in this? How do we create value for everybody? That was never the discussion. The discussion was quarterly earnings estimates, keeping the analysts happy, making sure that the markets are going to be welcome us when we need our next round of capital raise. And it was about avoiding shareholder lawsuits. And it was a very different conversation. Unfortunately, it has no moral compass. There's no way to look at a decision in a more holistic way to determine what's the right thing to do. That's not part of the equation. When you go to stakeholder-focused capitalism, it's a more conscious way of doing business. And I think that's where John Mackey and his crew came up with the term conscious capitalism. It's all the same thing, and it's all good, no matter what you call it. In a stakeholder-focused company, it's the duty of the directors and officers of the companies to appropriately balance the return to all of the stakeholders over the longer term. And so that's a mouthful, but let's back it up. It's to balance the return to all of the stakeholders over the longer term. And it yields an entirely different mindset, a different way of making a decision. In a stakeholder-focused approach, not only is the pie divided more equitably, but the kind of business decisions are made increases the size of that pie. And that's the magic behind this more conscious stakeholder-focused capitalism. By thinking about the entire set of stakeholders, more holistic, better decisions get made, and the impact of that shift in thinking is just enormous.